All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning, my fellow Ugandans. I wanted to, I wanted us to start this morning with talking about how religions, how the governments or how the government used religion to silence our voices from practical experiences and things that happened that you guys know. Yeah, I actually took this step last time when I talked to someone. Yeah, good morning to you, dear host. Thank you so much, Riam, and others. Yeah, thank you so much for greeting, and also greet you to Salma, Fiona, and Riam. So, recently I engaged with some protester who told me that a certain priest in the church was preaching about the March Parliament, calling it anti-God, calling it anti-Museveni, calling it a protest against God, and all those sorts. So it really forced me to open up this conversation so that we can talk about how governments, especially in Uganda, how Ugandan government use religions to silence voices. Because these are things that happen. You know where you go, you know the church or the mosque where you go, and how people speak about those narratives that are in those places of worship. You find if he's a imam, there's a way how we speak about those that are trying to oppose the government, or those who try to protest against any injustice. So these things, you know them, so I won't be saying them, but these things happen. So you have some examples, and I also have my own example. So we'll be sharing those examples, but trying to teach Ugandans and other people around the world really to see how religion is used to manage societies, to manage a population, especially by those regimes that are in power. So I'll just start after you guys sharing this. Okay, you have shared. I think all of you have shared. So yeah, I'll start slowly with this, and I'll repeat this probably sometime after. But I want to give you an example. One time, in around 2018, 2018, I happened to drive my colleagues. They had a party in Ibanda. You guys from you know where Ibanda is. You pass Busheng, I pass in Mbarara, and then go to Ibanda. So I drove them. They had a sister who was an aunt who works in UN in France. So she came back. There was a function, so I had a Spark Custom. They wanted me to drive them because yeah. So they put fuel. I drove them to a wedding. We went there. Me, I was just a friend to one of them, but because I'm also their driver, so we made a relationship there and all that. And then yeah, after that, after the wedding, the auntie decided to take out her family members, to take them out. So we went out to a certain bar in Ibanda. So while I seated there, this lady who has a good job in France. She has a very nice job, working at UN and all that. She started explaining to her son. She has a son, and then the son came with his dad. So they are like, in Ankole, like it's that kind of it's like I can call it a small family. So it's just a close, like they are so close. So now the aunt started saying that, you know what? You guys should support Museveni. You should support the young generation. They were young. Some of them were my age mate, others were even younger. So you guys should support Museveni. Why? Because God sent Museveni. It's God that sent Museveni. You must support Museveni. Museveni is God sent, and when God wants to take him away, he will take him away. So one of the most interesting thing, and actually I've even tweeted it sometime because it makes me laugh every time I remember that statement. So one of her own son asked the lady, asked the woman, like, okay, now we know we know in the Bible that God met Moses in this place, and this is what happened, and this is what happened. So can you tell us where also God met Museveni? Can you tell us where exactly God met Museveni? Did he meet him in Mbarara? Did he meet him in Luwero? Where did God meet Museveni to tell him to send him to liberate Uganda, as you are saying? So I was listening, and this is something that I didn't expect from the young boys and from the young generation asking their, so the young boys ask their mother, like, or an auntie, like, tell us where exactly God met Museveni, because in the Bible we know that God met Moses and gave him the mandate to liberate his people. So you also tell us where did God meet Museveni to send him to liberate Uganda? These are the young generation asking their mother to tell them, because she was filled with that kind of narrative. Oh, God sent Museveni, so you must respect him. If you don't respect him, you are not respecting God, because it is God that sent Museveni. So these young people now asking their mother, tell us, where did God meet Museveni? Because in the Bible we see that God met, Moses, or in the burning bush, or where like that. So tell us where, And, okay, this is how it went. So the discussion was, this woman is bringing a religious perspective to silence the young people, and to force them to support what they don't want. So, and these are the kids are saying, no, for us we don't want, because for them their narrative was that the man has ruled for a very long period of time, and for them as Westerners, they were saying that for us as Wanyankole, we are being seen as a problem to other regions. So they were saying that him continuing to rule is endangering the Westerners, not Westerners, the Banyankole, but like the whole nation is seeing them as a problem. So that was the discussion was centering at that. So the kids were saying, the Museveni leaving power will be a very great victory for all Banyankole, because they will, like, the whole country sees them now as a problem to other tribes and maybe to the whole country. So for them, they wanted to see like Museveni leaves power, as the whole country maybe like can change the way they see the Banyankole. So, and then the mother was insisting that you must support, because this is a God sent. Museveni is a God sent, and if you oppose him, you're actually opposing God. So this is one of the things that happened. Now, another case. I don't know if I'll be able to speak that, but if someone will be able to speak, but let me speak this. So someone came to me. I don't know if he wants to say this on your behalf, but someone came to me and told me that, James, a priest is preaching about me because I protested in a march to parliament. A priest, and this is something it is common, because most religious people, they don't have a lot of content. So normally when they get something, they come as masquerade. They say, we got a vision, or God talked to me that you are against God. Why? You protested against corruption, and when you protest against corruption, you are protesting against government. You are protesting against Museveni. Museveni is God sent. That Museveni is God sent. So when you protest against Museveni, you are protesting against God. So this kind of a narrative, religion uses it to break the spirits of those young people who would wish to stand. Constant preaching in those churches, in those mosques, breaks the spirit of young people. I don't care how much you believe, but the more you hear that, is the more you lose the courage. The more you lose the courage to stand for what you want as you get. So, however much you might be having the conviction that you really feel like you need to fight injustice but the more you hear these things, the more they push you to the wall. That at the end of the day, in the church or in the mosque, you are seen as an anti-God, or someone who doesn't believe, or someone who actually fights government and fights what they call God sent. So in many traditional churches and in many born again churches and some mosques, of course, you find that people preaching, showing that actually God, the only sent leader in Uganda is Museveni. You find people openly preaching that. And it is one of the narratives that has been used to really show that the regime was sent by God. It's up to you who is listening. For example, it's up to you. But let me tell you one thing. For example, for me, what the small thing I know, the small thing I have read and I have heard. I'm not a religious, I'm not a theologist, but I'm talking from the experiences that I've read, and also in the Bible, and also other people can also speak from their perspective, or whether you're Muslim or that. But this is what I've read. That even when we say, like, I'm not saying that God chooses leaders. I don't want to agree with that. You also have a right to yours, but me, I don't believe that it's God that chooses leaders. But even when I agree that it's God that chooses leaders, there are leaders in the Bible that have been abandoned by God. There are leaders that have been abandoned by God. But the Bible says they were chosen, they were brought by God. But there are leaders that have been abandoned on the way by God because of how they handled their leadership, their kingdoms, and the people. For example, God abandoned Saul. God left Saul. Because of his leadership, God left Saul and took Moses. David. This is something that we read in the Bible. David was chosen even before he became a king. So God started recognizing David as the leader of Israel even before he became victorious. Even before David won over Saul. So God had chosen David, that he abandoned Saul. So this kind of narrative that God must say, when will God say? Okay, where will God say? Like, when did God announce him through all the areas, through all the districts, through all the provinces of Israel that I have abandoned Saul? Where? There was nowhere. But the signs were read by those who believe. And those are the people that believed David, that David was the one that has been sent to replace Saul. So, even when I say that I believe that God is the one that chooses leaders, that I don't want to believe, even when I believe that, yes, it is God that chooses leaders, there are incidents in the Bible where God abandoned his leaders and got new leaders, even when those other leaders were still in power. So if the religious leader wants to sell his narrative that a sitting leader must first die, then I really don't buy that. It is crap. It is nonsense. Because in the Bible it is nowhere. Even Moses, God anointed Joshua to take over from Moses when Moses was still alive. So tell us, you religious leaders that continue to masquerade on the pulpits as voices of God, trying to lie the population that you get God's voices. Tell us, where did God tell the Israelites that now I have abandoned Saul. Saul is no longer my king. David is my king. Tell us where it is written in the Bible. So if someone goes on the pulpit and starts lying to Ugandans that God sent him 7, and so he must first die, and all that crap, it is useless. It is very useless. So, you have many experiences. You have attended so many services. You have attended, you call them duas in mosques, and you hear. When you see a religious leader getting a car from 7, you don't expect him to speak on behalf of God. He's speaking on behalf of a regime. So whatever he's claiming that, I met God, no. He met Museveni. He didn't meet God. He met, like God appeared to me, or my vision. No, that was a vision in the State House. Because some people dream things they think about that they have seen through the day. Some people dream the things that they think about. So if you went to State House, if you're dreaming of getting a car from State House, so then you'll be dreaming about those things. And then you will come to church and say, I dreamt this. I got a vision. God is saying that you leave Museveni because he's a God sent. And someone claims that when you protest against corruption, you are protesting against Museveni, and that means also you are protesting against God, because God sent Museveni. Those kind of narratives. Let us begin from there. You have your personal experience. I'll give the microphone to Sir Alan. After Sir Alan, then John, and then Dr. Morgan. Please, let's go ahead. Sir Alan. Sir Alan, you have the mic. All right. I can't hear you. So, John.
Hey, what's up? Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Awesome. So my name is John. I'm from Kenya. I've just seen the topic and I've really liked it. I think we share a lot of similarities. And perhaps maybe I would just add a caveat that maybe for us mentally we can just say how they misuse religion to silence our voices. Because the same thing has happened, or rather happens here as well, where they would go to churches, and use proceeds of crime to build churches, more like money laundering through the churches. At the same time, these priests and pastors would give them a platform to not even speak about Christ, but to sell their politics on Sundays, from the pulpit, which is very wrong. And this has been happening for a while, but I think I've made a comment on the comment section asking if your side of the revolution in Uganda has a Occupy Churches initiative, similar kind of initiative, where because here in Kenya, for example, and I'm involved in this, we've been writing to various religious institutions, the Catholics, the Protestants, even the Interreligious Council, and whenever there's something that needs to be said on behalf of the Gen Zs or the millennials and the youth, with regard to the way the state is misusing religion to exert its misrule over the people. So I'd like to know if there's any similar kind of initiative, and if there's none, if you guys could go ahead and do it. Something else that comes out from that is maybe I'd like for you guys to think about why are the religious leaders so quick to censure Apologies. Sorry. I hope I'm still audible. I just wanted to land.
Yes, please. Yes.
Why have all right. So, the other question I'd land with is that why are the religious leaders so quick to censure the people who go out for protest or who want to hold the government to account, but they themselves will not come out to do that, or they wouldn't even be, they wouldn't even be involved with checking up on people who have been arrested and disappeared, people who've been killed or something like that. You would expect that they would do the Christian thing and check up on families of the people who've been killed or people who've been forcibly disappeared. So, those are my two questions.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you so much, John. For one, I can answer one of the questions. Yes, we have a campaign, and really we saw how it was successful. You guys did it, and so Ugandans are also taking a step to see how we can actually make it difficult for them to have a space on the pulpit. So yeah, it's ongoing, and we really hope like whoever goes to attend Sunday service today, anywhere you really see, you shouldn't allow to listen. You shouldn't allow the population to listen to much of the crap from the politicians. I think this is a great step, and we really have seen a lot of success in Uganda. We also started that kind of campaign. And thank you so much, our brothers from Kenya, for standing up against the injustices, corruption, and also rising to the question, because it's the generation that must stand. Thank you so much, John. And brothers and sisters from Kenya who are attending this space right now. All right, I will go to Sir Alan. Sir Alan, please, you have the mic. John, can you please unmute your mic?
Hello, thank you everyone. Thank you MP Oti. Thank you John. Thank you Dr. Morgan. Thank you everyone who's attending this space. Actually, I'm very happy that someone has come up with such a topic. Because mbadde njagala tuchogerako okumala ebbanga naye nga simanyi opinions z'abantu ziyimiridde zitya kuba abantu bali really emotional about religion, and I understand because I'm also a religious person. Naye nga otunulira engeri gye tubadde politics za Uganda ngeri zitambulamu kikulaga nti religion okubeera from independence, religion has been playing a big role either for the people or for the government on either side. Ngenda kuwa example mu protest twali nayo recently, March to Parliament. We had what our boys were doing were just holding placards and moving toward Parliament, just on the streets of Kampala, just like normal people do from Phaneroo. You have seen Phaneroo guys holding placards anywhere. Even that very day, and I've mentioned it on my TL at some point, that very day, there were people holding placards with words of Christianity. But in the police, the people that were really persecuting were these people they were persecuting people not because of just because of standing and holding a placard, but just because of the message that is written on the placard. Lwaki nti message ya anti-corruption teri religious. You're not arresting people who are protesting for non-religious things. You're not arresting people who are talking about religion. Then why are you arresting people who are protesting against corruption? Because also religion is against corruption, just like the Bible says. From the beginning, like MP Oti said, people in Christianity, people think God chooses the leaders. I think even in Islam, we have to tolerate our leaders to a great extent because we think God has chosen them. God, most of us have never even interacted with directly. Yet, eventually, our leaders will take our direct, not God or anyone else. Lwaki twatulina tolerating our leaders on the notion nti Katonda yabachoose. We have seen throughout history, outside the biblical context, we have seen very many leaders who have persecuted Christians. We have seen even the Bible itself, people are there who are leaders already, but are persecuting Christians. We have seen Nero. We have seen even Museveni himself persecuting people. So nti Katonda yamulonda nga takola kintu kya Katonda. Like MPOT said at first, God sometimes asobola okujjako omuntu omukono. I was seeing an argument on Twitter last time. It was I think a Rwandan guy in diaspora who was saying that Paul Kagame is a dictator and a really very unpopular opinion in East Africa. Nenga yenga Paul Kagame ngeri yerabanga some sort of a god, and I think it's the same way these guys in Uganda, Museveni and their whole family see themselves. But berabanga bakatonda. So ngamanti omuntu ali blasphemous to that level. Katonda yamulonda. You have seen most of the when you see Moses teaching in the name of the Father and the Son, they don't mean the Father God, they mean themselves. You know, that's really blasphemy to that level. And you can't tell me nti bano Katonda yabalonda nga tebali blasphemous to that level. That's why they have Bachwezi. They have put up the narrative of Bachwezi as some sort of small god. That's why they really teach it. But so much primary to be indoctrinated in that law was anti Bakatonda to some level. And you took kugenda wetonga every week to get no songo afuna una butulina ku government yen. Tugenda mu church. Pastor na suppressing na gamba kakana. Dayokole shibishi. No wera byone nti government yetade mu mera gyolimu. Government egena kufuga ebanga lyonna ngate onyigirizibwa. Kive kugwe kikwate n'abaana bo nawe national champions ku baana we nazo mwana wange mugamba. aberenga so yesalirawo. I show her the Bible, but I let her know the truth. Let her know that God has given us some degree of free will to a level that we can actually choose our own leaders. It's not God. Mhosa kina kujave tekeko lokwa mtawani wa Museveni yatugamenchi banaye. Katonda ya mtadeo. You know? It's us who choose our leaders, and that's why we produce leaders who look like ourselves. Obadi wako mututeka mufia nti either Katonda yabalonda ababo benyini bakatonda gitujoko okubagondera n'okubalabanga we tutyonga everything kibakola tukikiriza bukiriza nti Katonda yasazeewo oshegera omutonzi yasalawo something like that. So anyway, the submissions zange bbiri.
By the way,
I want to thank you again for the topic.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last part. But I really loved this in part of your submission. You asked if it's God that chooses leaders. So it is the same God that chooses. How about Gambachi? Alan? Alan? Sorry. So like this is what I picked, that if it's God that chooses leaders, so it is the same God that chooses Pharaoh.
Yeah. The last bit I was just saying.
So Aman, your network is very, very bad. Alan? Sorry, mute and unmute. Right. Sorry, Alan, you have some connection problem there. But the point here is just something I picked from him is if we claim that it's God that chose leaders, so it's the same God that chose the Pharaoh that persecuted the Pharaohs that persecuted the Israelites for thousands of years. Is it the same God that also chose Emperor Nero? Is it also the same God that chose Herod? That So it's like which kind of leaders are those? Because if you look into the Bible, these are not leaders. These are the people that persecuted what you call his children, what the Bible calls his children. So is it the same God that chose those leaders? So are all leaders chosen by God? If you want to sell your narrative that God chooses leaders, are all leaders chosen by God? The oppressors and those that support God's work, which kind of leaders are we talking about in this context? If you say it's God that chooses leaders, which kind of leaders? Because will the same God choose those bad leaders that are killing his own people? That Alan has actually talked about it. The Neros, the Herodes, the Pharaohs. So because here the people are just selling the narrative of God chooses leaders. It's God that chooses leaders. So which kind of leaders? Which type of leaders? We are talking about religious leaders. We are talking about business leaders. We are talking about political leaders. Which kind of leaders are we talking about here in this context? Because these people on the pulpits, they sell this narrative. It's God that chooses leaders, or it's God that chooses this leader. It's God that chooses leaders. How? Like these young people in Uganda were asking their mom, where did God meet Museveni? Where? Because in the Bible it shows that God met Moses and sent him to go and liberate his children from Israel. So they were asking their mom, tell us exactly which forest, which kabush, was it in Ruwero? Was it in Woblenz? Was it in Mbarara or in Bushenyi? Where exactly did God meet Museveni to send him to liberate Uganda as he claims, as you guys claim? So this okay, Dr. Mogat.
Reverend Sona, every day we get titles according to what topic we're discussing. If we're discussing Parliament, we are honorables. I think now we are reverends, pastors, evangelists, imams, sheikhs. But on a serious note, allow me to say good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to wherever you're listening in from. You forgive my voice. I have a cold. Praying I get some fine. We're living in times where religion does not seem to be religious. We're living in time where many of us left church but didn't leave God. We're living in times where when we were growing up, our parents would tell us, if you want anything, even the religious leaders themselves grew us in a manner that they used to tell us, if you want anything, ask from God. If you want a house, ask from God. If you want a car, ask from God. If you want a wife, ask from God. But guess what? Here are the times when a religious leader needs a house, he will go on the knees and ask for a house from the dictator himself. If a religious leader needs a car, instead of going to the God they preach to us, he will go to the knees and ask for a car from the dictator. We are living in times where religious leaders are moving with soldiers holding AK-47s to guard them. They are not even secure with the God they preach to us. I'm not meaning God does not exist. I'm only talking about it in the context of the religious leaders we are dealing with. Actually, they are not religious leaders. They are religious dealers. The people we have at hand are not religious leaders, are religious dealers. I'll say it again. For all people we have in Uganda that say that they will lead religions. These are not leaders, they are dealers. In whatever they are doing, they are making a deal for themselves. We are having religious leaders that will come to a sermon, spend an hour talking about how good their wife is, how beautiful their wife is, and spend the next 2 hours talking about Bobby Wine. Then spend the last 30 minutes talking about how the church needs to contribute. And the last thing is, I call that a service. Those are the religious leaders we have at hand. He uses the 3.5 hours, talk about his wife, attack Bobby Wine, use the last 1 hour or 30 minutes to ask the church to contribute. Call that a service. We are having religious leaders that have better houses than the churches where they lead people from. We are having religious leaders that, turned everything into satire for themselves to love. When we were going in for the march to Parliament, I remember the Interreligious Council released the document. Even when we had been categorically clear that we are going to be peaceful, we were saying this since the word go. We said we are going peaceful. We organized for months and months, wrote to them, tagged them in different tweets, only for them to come out and tell us we should undertake other peaceful means. I'm like, get serious. We are saying we are peaceful. You are telling us to undertake peaceful means. Do you mean our peaceful means are not peaceful? But these are the leaders we have at hand. They're actually disconnected from the reality. As long as they can come, manipulate you, control you, they will tell you, you know what? I'm like, fuck you. Some of these things are God-given. Fuck you. These things are God-given. The freedom to worship is God-given. Then to the people that say it is God that... So that statement was what? God is the one that makes leaders.
Yes.
Where does God vote from? Where does God vote from? God gave us the free will. The free will. Wait a moment. When you wake up in your house and okay, let's say when you wake up and fornicate, let's say you're not married, or you all commit adultery when you're married, is it again God that gave you the opportunity to fornicate or commit adultery? These are things we should understand. It is free will. The reason as to why we go into an election, if it was that, God would just wake up in the morning and send us a name. But the mere fact that we go into an election with all the irregularities, we have the free will. But look at how the people who are telling us God is the one that made them leaders came into power. They went to the bush and killed the people. They didn't kill animals with the 27 guns they went to bush with. They slaughtered people. Thousands and thousands of Ugandans were killed for these people to come in power. How they use religion to silence us. Exactly. Religion has been used for the positive and negative. The truth is, if religion was not in existence, we wouldn't know where Uganda would have been to some extent. But again, now the dictator has used it for his own gain. He wakes up in the morning, gives the youths freedom to go out to the streets and preach bad against stealing, preach bad against, fornicating, preach bad against dressing badly in public. But he will not give the same youths the opportunity to go out there and talk about how they are being led. He will not give them the opportunity. The same youths he allows to go out and talk about, fornication, adultery, all the other things, all the goodness of God. He will not allow them to go and question how they are being led. Kale, never to get a questioning angeli gy'okulemberwamu. Dikira naso akira kumachana akukkiriza genda kuwa views zo ku ngeri ki gy'okulemberwamu. That is how religion is being used. And then there is Namirembe Cathedral every Sunday. Every Sunday, reverends be like, we pray for the life of the president, the first lady, and government officials, blah, blah, blah. Basically praying for the thieves at the expense of the people's lives. If I ever want to wake up in the morning and pray for Mr. Museveni, and pray for the family of Dictator Museveni, it would be a worse prayer, because these people reign by killing. They lead us by killing us. They kill us physically, mentally. They kill our future. They kill our resources. They kill our economy. They kill our health sector. They kill everything we have at hand. And I go to church and you are a reverend and you're saying we pray for these people that are killing us, that are killing our future. No. Religion has been used to curtail the I always told people, normally banga ngoli mu church malako mwezi gumu nga togendayo olabe entegerayo bwegenda okukyuka. Religion ebiseera ebisinga ebeerawo kutukateiringa ne wandivuddeyo okwogera ku kintu Bible egamba toddamu makulu go. Fuck you. And these are the times we're living in. Nti bakulu baffe bakola ebikyamu nga tetusobola kuboogerako. To a downtrodden point. To a downtrodden point. To a downtrodden point. Religion has been used for the negative in our country. Topic natumaliza tetugirese mube ku Katonda existing nebeera mulabufu mu bintu bikibe bakubuulira. Olina pastor asula mu nyumba emyasa biki omugenda okusaba nga musabira mu bisooto. Nze ndaba ne sente zetuwaayo mu church tuzikwate tuziwe bamulekwa. Take it to orphanages. So natemunzijemize nja kudedda.
Thank you so much, Dr. Morgan. But I really, you really brought something that I can talk about here. Free will and free action. I don't know if you can really understand. There's something here said here. There's free will and free action. And if it was that, then we would be remote. The guy would be there in heaven controlling us. Okay, Dr. Morgan, Gwenjagala, your president. Tomorrow, we are following Dr. Morgan with our heads like this. But it's not like that. He gave us free will and free action. That we use our minds, our brains to think and then act with our will. That's why Ozalo Umana agama njagala kwera Muslim. Omulana agama njagala kwera mu 7th day. Free will and free action. We are not robots. So free will and free action. Thank you so much, Dr. Morgan, actually, for reminding me something like that. It's very, very important in these things we are talking about. We are not robots, guys. We are not robots. God chose no. God doesn't choose for us because he's not controlling robots. He gave us free mind, free will to take a will, to decide something on our own, and then to act on our own also. You get free will and free action. That's what it means. Okay. Santos coming.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Hope I'm loud and clear. It's morning in Uganda and other countries. I don't know where you are, but thank you for being on. Guys, let's share the space, and also thank you for continuing coming on space. My voice is not clear due to it's cold. Where am I? But today I'm happy for today's topic. Actually, I was not going to speak, but I felt like I should add something on it, because when it comes to religion, it's one thing I believe it has been used on us way back, even before our grandies. This started by whites. When whites wanted to colonize Africa perfectly without facing a lot of struggles, they brought in the idea of religion. And that is when they came with Christianity, Islam, and, born again stuffs. And that's how we are managed. They could tell you, if you do this, God is watching you. If you do this, ABC is going to happen, So, at the time, I'm always wondering, why do we Africans, we have failed to wake up, we have failed to wake up to understand that religion is meant to control a society. And it's actually, religion is politics as well. Because trust me, when they wanted to colonize Africa, that's how they came. It was already politics. First they came as Muslims. Yes, I'm a Muslim, but I'm very, very sure I know there were my grandparents that were not Muslims. That's the fact.
Santos. I wasn't okay. Continue. I wasn't hearing you. Please continue.
Am I loud, guys?
Yes, please.
And clear? Yes. Okay. I was saying, initially before all this, white setup we are all in, we had Africans that were not in any religion. They were not Muslim, they were not Catholic, they were not Protestants. They were Africans, So what the whites did, it was to come up with the theme so that they can control and govern us. So what the now government is doing is using religion to still do the same, because a person from church, a person that goes to mosque every day, a person that goes to churches every day, to speak about it, the person will be like, God will change. Up to now, we have people who think, because we were built like that, we were built to think like that, It's a system that you must think like this, You must say, that's foolishness, there is no God, power to kill people. Then then that is not God, So, in Uganda, all these religious leaders to stand with you people. No, they can't. These are the people that have a religious council that sits with President Museveni, and decide how this country is going to be governed. These people sit, and amend policies that all of us are going through. There is no developed countries that have freedom of worship. Let's be honest. You want to say China is not developing or is not developed? where people don't even focus about this. Man, I'm going to church every day. Man, we are praying. Man, we have lunch hour. You know, you want to say India is not a country. It is only in Africa where we don't even have our resemblance to the God. Katonda mweru. Mwena tukuze tumanyi katonda mweru. Mukasitani ya mudugavu. You get? Fena tukuze tumanyi. So guys, it's time to pull out our minds and start reasoning. Like once one of us said here, spend a month without going to church or listening to that crap. Then you will see how you will start, relating to the real world, how things are done. Because these same pastors, these same sheikhs, these same fathers do have other businesses. Mabala, but they own hotels and bars. They own money as well. So at the end of the day, we Africans, we need to first understand who are we, before we think about, like I've said, we do have Uganda Religious Council, Semanya Council Committee, that sits with politicians. But they sit to govern us. That's why we have freedom of worship in Uganda. Like Dr. Morgan akira kumacha nakola church, nagamba nina service ku sawa 2, na service ku sawa 4, na service ku sawa 8. But do you know what they preach? The government is doing good. They have given us freedom of worship. Let us pray. Because when people are hopeless, when you want to govern people, put them in an hopeless state where they have to keep on playing. Pray to God that this country gets better. Pray to God that we get lunch. Pray to God. The crazy people bafaza bale tusabe katonda. Marwaliro tusabe katonda. Because that's where they are keeping you on hope. A person who is living on hope, mwangu wa kufuga. Katonda ajja kujja buli kimu kiterere. Katonda ajja kujja everything. I'm not saying that simanyi katonda, but to me first, my first God is my mother. That is one. Because she's the person that created me, and that is the fact. And I will say, yeah, I will respect that one first before thinking about the God that I don't even know about. And that's why I'm sober. I'm sober in reasoning. I can say, no, what they have done is bad. I cannot wait for God to speak. Like if I speak about maybe there are some colleagues of ours when I come to spaces to speak, katonda bimunyiza. And I'm here, I don't even wait for Pastor Bujingo to speak about the issues of the country, because I know the guy is in a system that is meant to make all of us think like that. Guy, nakeda ku church, that's a mission. That's why government was sent to church kumacha, preach people to be humble. Make them reason like everything is okay in the country, everything is going to work but there are countries we have traveled to. I want to say, someone has talked about Rwanda. Kagame wabage nakeda ku machanga ya censoring aba religious leaders. Chogamba katonda gena munyigira Rwanda eleme kulakulana. Kagame wabaya akera ku machanga ye ba religious leaders tabagala bibakola. Ye katonda tali kusaidie. Ejemirerembe, because the same thing that is happening in Uganda, those are the same stuff that happened in the Wamubutu Seseko. Mwabamanyi history. Wali emirerembe gyokusaba wano tunya emirerembe muntu akera ku macha nakola church ngabo ayagala, we had a setup that was well organized. Nga churches zili spaced from where communities are, bars are also spaced from where communities are, but right now bars, churches zona zisanga abantu webasula, bw'ozisanga abantu webasula, so muntu ave wako oba webase kiro eri wali asaba Yesu akola. Okuva ku macho bova webale kuli kumpi. So you live in a community where you have to be in hope. So guys, if you're on this space, be knowledgeable enough to understand there is nothing like religion that is going to uplift society. It is meant to work in hand with the government. That's why when you find a religion that is against any government policy, bayekera. But in reality, we Africans, we must think as Africans. We must not think like our first grandees, where religion was brought to them and they were governed. Gweyagala kungamba bajjajja ffe batunda mu slavery, abali batunda bali bakabulu, bali ba Christian. Abawalabu bajja waneno, Abawalabu they were Muslims, ne batunda bajjajja ffe. Abazungu they were Christians, they were Protestants, they were born again, ne batunda bajjajja ffe mu slavery. Then you want to say that is the God that we are praying for? Zende Muslimu, Abawalabu banyenyi naffe bagende Saudi Arabia ne bakoleyo. Ababatulugunya ne babatta Abawalabu Abayisiraamu. Abasaba Allah buli lunaku. Then you want to say that is the God. That is the God. Oye katonda aliwo inti Dr. Morgan bwe mukwata lokuba ndi Musiraamu musaleko omutembu katonda bwatu. That is the God you guys think. Guys, go back to what you have to do right. I'm being honest. In the second Mizikiti, I don't even go to churches. Ngenda yonga waliyo simanya some other stuff, but me in the Santos sekero kumachambu nsaba. I'm praying God. No, when I'm in my bed, I said, universe, do ABCD for me, but I don't be there. I'm waiting for, let's say Florence is the pastor. Florence ankwate kumutu ansabire. Florence asabire guanga. I can't be stupid to that level. So Ugandans, we can't be stupid to that level. We must think. If you are here with the hope of religious leaders to change our country, like to speak up, they cannot, because like I've said, these are people that are funded, very well funded, to do what? To do community setup. To do a community setup and guideline. None of those the bishops we are having, the pastors we are having, that is going to come up and stand and say, enough is enough. that person can only stand in a sober way as a Ugandan, but not as a religious leader. They cannot, because the Bible or the Quran, it has a setup to put people on that kind of thinking. You know that these guys, okay, assume, I want to say this. All of the born agains and all people that are too religious, I'm not attacking the born agains, but all religious people, they are in a circle of reasoning, because one, you must wait for that person to speak. We are voting for ABCD. No, I cannot wait to see that this one is wrong. I cannot wait for Morgan to say Santos no, my mind's work and they are sober. Whether I'm Muslim, whether I'm what, no, but I'm very, very sure they are my grandparents that were not falling and any belief I'm in right now. You want to say we never had a setup before these whites. So guys, it is time to wake up. I know there are other speakers, but when it comes to religion, guys, it is a setup that we must think like that. We must behave like that. It is a setup. Like, it is a confusion. It is something that is set up into Sunday. You go to pray, as if when you start your house, you cannot pray. As if when you stay to your house, or you cannot pray into it. So Pastor Bujingo and all other fake masters, they will never do anything for this country to change. Otherwise, they only work hand in hand to keep the government in power. Because one, they're going to be waiting for that. And lastly, as I finish up, one said, I want to say, guys, the only business why we're having all these guys, pastors, that's where money laundering is being carried out within the government. Will be that to what you want. Government will be that never people will be able to become public say that, but dictator because it's make a million come up with a show to government just selling out of with millions of money. That's money laundering. There's totally nothing. One said yes, you are right. Because Katonda taina akoluna kuwasindika moto kanesima sente kunsi yamu kama kutaka kuneno. Mbukatonda yasendi sente kukana ni wabu jingo, mbuzigenze kukola milimu je muguru. No. You are making these funny people very rich and fucking each and every girl in town. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Santos. Thanks so much. Florence has shared something so interesting in the comment section. But there is a verse in the Bible. Okay, let me just literally say that. Ogenda ku church. Ngo ino muntu gwolese agudde ku kubo. Gwe notambuzo omuntu ogenda ku church okusaba. Naye ngo omuntu olise omuntu okuyamba ku kubo. Mbogenda kusaba Katonda Yesu yababuza kati mugenda kusaba ki, for example, what is serving God? Bakitegeera. Olise omuntu agudde ku lugudo wetaaga okumuyamba naye go mbogenda kusavinga Katonda ogenda mu church. That's what Santos maybe talk about here. Nti abantu abetaaga obuyambi bali eri. Naye there are some people who claim to be serving a God. Balina sente nnyingi naye they can't even Morgan yagambye church zaabwe. I mean amayimba gebasula mu malungi n'okusinga ekkanisa zaabwe zababuliriramu enjiri. Yes, Florence, have the mic.
So nakatini nnyo.
Yes.
Wotunulira kankuwe ebyokulabirako bibiri, church n'ebbaala. Ojagenda mu church ng'enjala ekuluma, oveeyo ng'ekuluma. But we have Ugandans here who go to bars without a single coin, ne banywa ne bavaayo nga batamidde. Naye ng'ogenda mu church ng'enjala ekuluma, oveeyo ng'ekyakuluma.
Naye Morgan akebbaala ako ate abogayi balina solidarity ab'omu bbaala abo.
Ojagenda mu church ng'otambuza bigere ng'ovudde wala. Olemera okufuna omuntu akugamba nti omanyi ki? Jangu lift. Naye bagayi b'omu bbaala tebeereka. Ne waba takumanyi akugamba jangu nkusuuleko wali ewasigadde otambulewo.
Morgan, abagayi balina solidarity ab'omu bbaala abo. Florence, have the mic.
Tuna nina katuka tumenye sio.
Florence mugenda kukiza kwa ayogere.
Florence watajajiga. Florence watajajiga. Katono nyo. Okay, thank you. I'm one person. Mkama Nyambe, and Africa, mostly Africa. I've traveled some countries in Africa, but I've come to realize that in Uganda, it is a country that religion is totally affecting us 80% in our mindset. Nze chinuma, okay, like I've said, but how can I on hell mfune sente zintwali emeka ompulira bulungi nesi soba funa sente zintwala kulima bijja bya mama wange? That's the mindset most of us have. Nze ngende kukaba emeka infukamire njikisinga njisinza I'm sorry to the Muslim ge mazima. I'm a Muslim. Ompulira bulungi nenga sobola genda kubijja bya mama wange oba tata wange wajjajja wange kubiri mako because bakugamba ejo mizimu. But do you know emikolo gye bakolanga batekako kabaka wa England oyakulira Anglican Church because yajikulembera? Do you know emikolo gye bakola? Oba do you know guys emikolo gye bakolanga batekako papa mu abakatoliki? Mwine manye emikolo gye bakola gwokere ku machoga ame papa ekaya ino kusala wo baba faza bebaka n'abakazi wate bebaka. How stupid are you? Singa papa oyo nyina netata ite begatta bali muzadde. So guys, we should wake up when it comes to some stuff. So religion is affecting us in our mindset. I'm not saying you should not believe in what you want to believe. You believe in what you want to believe, but be an African with a mindset nga toli mutwe mukalu. Nga stoli mukutwedde waiting for pastors. I'm personally, I don't wait for any pastor or sheikh or anyone to speak for me. No. And siringa kera kumachambu ngende wafaza ambulire kubufumba taina mukazi waka. I can't come to you when you are not married to speak, to guide me on issues of marriage. You can't. Ogenda kungamba. So thank you so much, Florence.
Akukosembezayo obo point wosembeza bukulu nnyo.
All right, it's my turn now. Bannange mbalamusiza nnyo mukama mulungi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Buli omujali. Kansubira nti mumpulira bulungi. Kati nze, let me start. Tonight, please allow me. I have a book here by Ojinga Odinga, not yet Uhuru. Ojinga Odinga is the father, or was the father of Raila Odinga. He was present during the colonial times. He's among the people who fought for the independence of Kenya. So he had this to write. This is what he wrote about religion. This is just part of what he wrote, yeah? So yeah, I'll start. It's just an excerpt. I will just read a little bit of it. Okay? Maybe it will give us context. But before I start, we have to remember, when did religion come in? It came in during colonial times. If you remember, who were the first ones? Was it explorers? Followed by missionaries? Followed by, what? Was it traders?
Traders Yes, they explorers and they missionaries.
And then they could go colonial masters. Yes, So, yeah. So we have to remember that colonialism used the religion. Anyway, let me read this for you guys. So, it's just, this is not where the book starts from. I'm just picking apart, okay? So I never adhered seriously to any one denomination. He's talking about different denominations of religion. I thought of God as common to all the religious groupings and churches, and I liked him this way. The Catholic priest at Makerere invited me to his home and tried to show me the truth in Catholicism. We went together to Rubaga, the largest cathedral in Uganda, which is Catholic. I listened to the revivalists whenever they invited me. I was ever ready to attend the services of any denomination. I did not believe in any one of the denominations, but had faith in the supreme God who I believed would guide me. I tried in my life to live up to the teachings of the Bible. In the beginning, religion had meant the commandments taught to us by our fathers, which prevented us from committing serious sin. At Makerere, we tried to carry Christ's gospel outside the student body to the villages and their children. But over the years, listen to this, over the years, it dawned on me that I had listened to many preachers, and they seemed, all of them, to preach one thing in common, the suppression of African customs. They were not satisfied to concentrate on the word of the Bible. They tried to use the word of God to judge African traditions. An African who followed his people's customs was considered as heathen and unchristian. Those who lived among and mixed easily with the non-Christians, who were, after all, the majority, were themselves doubled heathen. Tribesmen who kept many animals were condemned as unchristian because the possession of many animals meant it was possible for a man to marry and pay dowry for several wives. Any man married to more than one woman was unchristian. Villagers who lived in the traditional fenced-in clusters of huts were unchristian. If they were followers of the church, they would group their houses near the church building, it was thought. I didn't agree with the taking of Christian names, and I have described how reluctant I had been to take them. I formed strong prejudices against European priests who preached unity and love, and yet lived aloof from the people to whom they preached. Now, that's part of what Ojinga Odinga wrote about his perception of religion. And really, if we remember history properly, it's that the image of African traditions was, it was about making us lose our image first, start questioning ourselves, lose our names, give us foreign names, kind of lose part of our cultural belonging. You see, if you got a tree and uprooted it means it will dry. Yeah? The rootings, the belongings, the roots, our roots. You see, now I will just deviate a little bit. This is the problem of slaves that were taken from Africa and taken all over the world. The first thing that was done to them was to lose their names. Right now, they cannot even trace their roots where they belong. And the moment you have no roots, really there is some part of you that is missing. You cannot be a complete person. So we have to remember that religion was used to kind of cut us off, cut our roots, part of our strong roots out, give us foreign names, make us question who we are, question our traditions, vulgarize everything, you know, and that's how they managed to kind of change our mindset. Now, anyway, this is a book, Not Yet Who. It's very interesting. He goes on to tell about how he faced problems to baptize his 3 children. And since we are talking about religion, allow me read it because it's kind of comic. So it's just 1 minute. I faced the problem of the baptism of my 3 sons. I wrote to the priest of the Maseno Church that I would like to bring my children for baptism, but it was to be understood that my decision was to baptize them with African names. I was told that could be done, but I should choose not an ordinary African name, but one connected with the church, like Kama or Agre. On the day of the baptism, the church was crowded. When it was our turn, we went to the altar carrying the children. I gave the names of the first as Ngonga, Moro, Oburu. The priest, Reverend Simon Nyende, asked what his Christian name was to be. Ngongo Moro, I said. Reverend Nyende advised I should have taken a name like Agre or Kama, names associated with Christians. No, I said. Ngonga was a great chief in the country, loved by his people, and I have not heard of anything he did which was objectionable to Christians. Reverend Nyende refused to baptize the children and advised me to choose other African names. My wife was angry to be humiliated in front of the large crowd, and she stalked out of the church. I insisted we had to go back and try again. I wrote to the Archdeacon Stanway that my children had been refused baptism because I wanted to use African names. He referred to the bishop in Nairobi, and word came back that there was no clause in the constitution of the church debarring me from baptizing my children with African names. The African fathers objected when this matter was placed before the church council of the district, and the argument went back and forth until the Archdeacon ruled in my favor. Still no African priest, listen to that, still no African priest would come forward to baptize my children. I found a European priest at Maseno School who agreed to do so, but I had a fresh problem. My wife would not help me carry the children to church. Anyway, I'll stop there. But people, you see, religion changed, like, first of all, we have to go back. We have to know, like, as Africans, we have to love ourselves. We have to know there is nothing wrong with our traditions. There is nothing wrong with our African names. And we have to really go back. I think we need to educate ourselves more. For me, I'm not against religion as per se. Like Odinga said, you know, God helps you when you know, he guides us, right? But the problem is practicing it blindly. For me, that's why I have a problem with it. Thinking that God somehow is going to prolong his hand and give us whatever we need. Not knowing that God is going to use us actually to achieve whatever we have to use. Whatever we are praying for. You know, that's where the problem is. For me, in my own perception. And the other thing is that we have to remember, there's something that we have to remember as we read the Bible. That the Bible was written basing on those people. For example, it talks about Judah. These people have a culture. When the Bible, most times, because we are not well conversant, just imagine the Bible was written based in Uganda. There would be things like kneeling in that Bible. There would be like culture incorporated into the writing. Okay? And people would not understand. And like this is something we have all seen. If we do not understand the culture of a place, we're not going to interpret it properly. For example, talk about kneeling in Buganda. People who are not Baganda, who do not understand that kneeling actually is a show of respect, interpret it like subordination, interpret it like inferior complex, interpret it in all other things, other ways. But actually in Buganda, it's a sign of respect. It's as simple as that. You get it? So, even the Bible was written basing on this culture that comes into the Bible because it was written basing on a region and basing on people. They have their own culture, and that culture will come in. And actually, I've shared something, soon I said something, I've shared something in the comment section about one of the verses that is mostly misinterpreted. A verse La Santos Diayogeddeko, nti chusa yetama, oliwa kuba kutama elia kono, kutama elia dio, chusa, omteone elia kono, akukube. That verse, if you go to the comment section, you read. There is a cultural context to that verse. Nti, mu first century, there were slaves and servants and their masters. And the way engaging masters, they were disciplining their servants over their slaves was, not open palm, side, ewali enjala. Okitegeera oluyo omulubira in that bw'omuntu bw'aba ayimiridde omuntu bw'aba ayimiridde ng'akutunuulidde kitegeeza bw'oba oluyo ogenda ng'ogenda kukozesa not open palm ng'ogenda kukozesa eri side oba olina mukuba ku side ya ddyo singa obeera ng'oli muntu wa mukono gwa ddyo gwe gw'amaanyi go. Okitegeera. So that is one way that's the way masters gye bakolanga ki gye badiscipliningirangamu their servants and slaves. Naye the thing is ng'omuntu bw'omukozesa bw'okumukuba with open palm n'omukuba oluyi nga okozesa kibatu n'omukuba oluyi ng'okozesa kibatu oyo aba afuuse yo equal. That's how they used to between equals nti servant omukubisa open palm servant omukubisa eno side kasi ogezaako n'omukubisa open palm oba ogambye nti oyo yo equal. Ka Jesus bw'abanga apreachinga n'agamba nti oli bw'akubisa omukono n'akuwuba n'akubisa side ekyali ya kibatu in that case ng'olinga slave we kasojuusa n'omuteerawo ettama erya kkono tasobola kukubisanga ng'engalo talina bw'ayinza kukuba okujja ng'akubisa kibatu. Kitegeeza nti aba either ajja kukuba oba bw'akukuba aba agenda kulicognize as an equal. Nti tokyali slave tokyamuli wansi wabula kati now you are equal. Now that is not a sign ogamba nti it's not okay. So in a way it's non-violent, but it's not a sign to say it's like a way where you're talking about chokola. It's actually it is
defiance. It is someone taking action.
Exactly 100%. That is defiance. Then I'm your equal.
Hey. I have been practice one trying to literally put it into practice, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yes. And that's how, so Jesus was teaching defiance. Now it's like it's like submission. Like a sign of submission. But actually Jesus was preaching defiance, not submission. So that's the other thing about the Bible. Their cultural context, even in the Bible. Maybe, I don't know how Abasoma theology, how they study it. They also study the culture of, Judah, the culture of Nazareth, Bible. I don't know whether they do that, but I don't know. But that is something that we have to always remember. Until the Bible is not as direct as it looks. So then again, copy and paste. We have to understand deeply what actually these things mean. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Florence. Yeah. You have actually explained that comment, that was you made in the comment section. And it makes a lot of sense when you explain it in Uganda because but this is how I have understood it before I give Edwin the mic. The kind of webakuboli ku left take ayo nedio bakube because normally when you are facing someone bo facing omuntu ekibatu kyo kiba kirina kuba kusaidie eyadio like omukuboli pa n'omukuba n'ompacholi omukubiza kibatu naye abantu abatera okubisa kibatu nga bakubisa engaleno kusaidie yene mabega bwe abantu abanyoma abantu omuntu akunyomye olikana kato oba abasirikale bwabakuba takubisa luyita kubisa kibatu akubisa eno bapa because akunyomye you are not on the same level. So Florence, what Florence is explaining in the slave to master relationship in those days when these guys were writing their theology bakulaga nti bali bawandikira ba slaves engeri slave yalina okubeeramu yalina okureactinga mungu omukulu amukubye omukulu bwakubisa ekibatu bakubisa kino ekibatu batakubisa kibatu nakuba wepa nakupacha ngakubisiza eno back side nti noteka side endala bwakubisa ekibatu directly obanga afuse level ye obanga afuse mukazi we obanga afuse like that obola abasajja abakuba bakazi bakubisa kibatu kizibu nnyo omusajja okubisa side eno nakuba omukazi namukubisa side eno wapa okitegeera like MP abantu bepa champi as MP kitegeeza muri ku same level naye omuntu wakubisa side eno abakubisiza mu nyamaso obeera wansi nnyo. So in a way Florence what explaining like the Bible also teaches defiance ntitokiriza bukiriza just omuntu okukuba abanga kubye then raise up in a way bo raising anofuka level ye okitegeeza mugenda kudda ku table ndala. You're no longer talking about you're no longer a slave, he's no longer your master okitegeeza, so you have risen to another level. I think also Florence, what you've also asked, maybe I can also tell you that when they teach theology they teach even the cultures. They teach that the theology that we are learning is a un-Israel based theology. That means the cultures, the traditions that are written in the Bible are for Israel, but because bakongerako ne bagamba nti because Israel is a chosen nation, oshegera, so you must adopt to the culture of Israel, oshegera, awo ne bakuba, awo ne kabankawe them. So that's what I wanted to inform you that. So thank you so much, Florence, for that's yes, please.
If they do teach the culture, because it's one thing understanding it, right? Then why do we have preachers preaching to us and teaching us wrongly?
Yes.
My goodness, this is so depressing. Like, I mean,
in Africa, they are teaching very different things.
Yes, but why back to 724? In short, does that mean that or they don't take time to actually really learn this culture, like really deeply? Yep. We have to understand into the region. By the way, what I can tell you very soon. The region was brought October the colonialism. But colonialism. That's why you have to TikTok. Yeah? Omuntu akuletedde ekintu asobola okubba obulungi, because colonialism was about stealing our minerals, stealing our land, stealing our things. Okitegera? Akuletedde colonialism asobola okubba obulungi. Kiki ekikulowoozesa? Kyagenda kuwa. Yeah? A key to heaven. A key to heaven. You live in eternity. Kiki ekikulowoozesa?
Omuntu aze kubba ate oyagala mbu akutwala heaven mbu oli mulamu. Thank you so much, Florence. Edwin, please have the mic.
Okay, thank you very much. Am I loud and clear?
Yes, please.
Okay. Actually, this is a good conversation, a good topic to discuss. And for me, in my perspective, I would like to break up some points. All I know about religion calls for belief. Even before they teach you anything, they want you to believe. Before they even teach you anything, they want you to first believe whatever they have to teach you. But belief calls for blind obedience. It calls for blind obedience. No matter whether what they tell you is the truth, you have to believe. No matter whether what they tell you is wrong, you have to believe. And they have a claim, if you have ever gone to theological studies, they have a claim that belief is knowledge beyond knowing. You get it? Yet that is even not right. It is another thing of calling you to believe in what they have just said, that the knowledge we are giving you now is beyond your knowing. They want you to believe that, and that is not good. Then there is this dogmatic statement of leaders are chosen by God. That is a big no. It is not real, and it has never and ever been real. Because actions and influence stem leaders. Leaders are shaped by the battles they fight. The battles they fight are won by the influence they exert on fighters and supporters they have by their side. So influence comes to its climax when belief is instilled, which calls for blind obedience, thus reality. So I think akomukafuna ngasinatuka ku point enkulu enjogeze ekyo. Omukulembeze yenna ekimufuula omukulembeze bye bikolwa bye n'engeri gy'asendasenda abantu okukkiririza mu bikolwa bye. Ebikolwa bye byeyolekera mu ntalo z'alwana. Entalo z'alwana kayagala agaane tasobola ziwangula ng'ali omu, wabula alina okusendasenda, era eyo influence gy'ateeka ku abo basendasenda okubudda ku ludda lwe kye kimufuula omuwanguzi. Kati ebyo bibiri, influence and action, ne bimufuula omukulembeze. Ne bw'ogenda mu Bayibuli, kabere David bagamba yalwana ne Goliath. But it is something very simple. It can even be calculated. Goliath bwe yali alwana naye yali asaba olutalo lwa close combat. David teyali wa close combat. He was a guy who was skilled in artillery. Mu magye bayita ba artillery abakasuka right current technology wa rockets and what. But long time ago zabanga butida oba muzimanyi zomba abamu bazita zomba bala bazita butida. David, he used to practice that skill nga akyalunda endiga nga ensolo bwe zijja okulya endiga. He used that skill okwenganga ensolo ezo ezitiisa. Now when they were on the ground, Goliath yali alowooza bw'agenda kulwana ne David mu close combat. Naye David just flipped. He changed the battleground, the battlefield yagikyusa. Ye n'atukozesa artillery skills eziteetaaga kusemberera muntu, and he won. Awo nze sirabawo Katonda. Sijja balimba, sirabawo Katonda. Wabula ndabawo tekinike emu era erabikiddwa mbikola by'abakulembeze ab'enjawulo. Nti bw'oba olwana ne mulabewo mu kisaawe ky'atategeererako ddala. Oba onfuna. So kati n'omukulu oyo bw'atyo yakola yakyusa ekisaawe ky'okulwana era kye kyamusobozesa okuwangula so byali bikolwa bye kakati abantu oluvannyuma lw'omukkiririzaamu nga tebategedde na bukugu bw'akozesezza baafuna that belief they were influenced to follow him to believe in him ne batandika n'okulowooza oba Katonda yamusindise ninga where is God nowhere so bw'atyo n'akozesa advantage eyo n'afuuka omukulembeze kakati nze nafuna obuzibu ne father omunnamubuuza omusajja ono Museveni mumusabira buli lunaku buli Sunday buli service actually buli misa mumusabira naye mulowooza ku bantu be yatta eruweero Katonda yamusonyiwa ye bw'aba yamusonyiwa naffe ky'ogamba kati tukole kyekimu alitusonyiwa father yantunuulira n'aŋŋamba kyova olaba tumusabira naye kakati ate mumusabira ng'ate ebibi yabikola mubeere benkanya ekibi mukiyita ekibi n'ekikyamu mukiyita ekikyamu ebyavaamu kya n'okubinyumyako mu mboozi eyo but religion it is one of the 7 mountains of influence so you people you can make research about the 7 mountains of influence because whatever thing we want to do we have to influence people so religion is the 7th mountain of influence so n'olw'obukulu bw'ensonga eyo whoever stands onto that mountain of influence he uses it in his own benefit so tebusuubira eddiini eriwo ku mulembe gwa Museveni ate efe balinge omulembe gw'omuntu atannabaawo kyovula Museveni akozeseza eddiini eyo okubanga esobola oku-influencinga abantu in line of his own interests so if you want to fight Museveni find a way of conquering these seven hills of influence waliwo comrade agambye wano nti n'ebyo ebivulu bye mulaba mu Kampala biri sponsored by the dictator. Yes, it's true, because that's also another mountain of influence. Entertainment is another mountain of influence, and these mountains of influence mwaita na making a mind for kubeera occupied to an extent etusobola kulowooza butya bwavaako. You understand? So religion is also a mountain of influence. So if you stand on that mountain and you can use that mountain for your own benefit, there is a lot you can change.
There's nothing I could do about it. I'll share this one and let them come back and continue to discuss. Yeah, I think members share the space. The other one crashed. I lost control over that space. I tried to write to Florence to tell her that she should tell you that our space is going to crash, but then she didn't see the message. Yeah, so share this one. It was still a very interesting topic. We want to take it so that as Ugandans, then to understand how the regime is using the religion to control Ugandans. So guys, you are going to excuse me. The space crashed. It's none of my responsibility. Sometimes I can't control how the space goes, but I was still listening to Edwin. He was making a very good submission, and for me, really, I'm so much impressed by how you guys are taking it. So I'm going to be here. Sarah was already on the panel. I don't know whether Edwin had finished, and then just sharing a space so that other Ugandans can come and listen. And there's also something Edwin has talked about that I talked about when I was beginning this space. This narrative of somebody God chose so and so, all God choose leaders, all God choose leaders. Then I explained a story that I was in Iba and attending a function, and then we went for a dinner, and then one of the relatives, the senior relative who was working in UN in France, she was telling her children that they have to support Museveni because it is God that sent Museveni, so they need to support him. And then the kids were asking their mother, tell us exactly where God met Museveni, because in the Bible we see that God met Moses this way or like this. So for us also tell us where God met Museveni. Which bush? Was it in Ruero? Was it in Bushenyi? Was it in Masaka? Things like that. So and the mother was still insisting, no, you guys, you need to do this and this because this is God sent and all that. So and then there's also a protester who went to church, and he found when they're preaching about her that she protested against God, all this and all that. When you protest against corruption or protesting against God, so God sent this president. So if you protest now, you're protesting against God. Things like that. So okay, I'll give Edwin to continue, and then after Sarah.
Okay, thank you very much. And I was still saying that religion is a political extension. Because before the missionaries, actually, the missionaries, after the traders, the missionaries came in. They came in to extend something that they were about to take. They were just extending their hand, which in turn that hand would go back with some. So, to tulina bannaffe abakatoliki, the Catholics, and that way Roman political hand. It is a political hand. I don't think there is something called the religion even. It is something, that's all politics. So you people about Roman Empire, how they came to neutralize the Pope, what and what the church.
Najisoma, how they were exiled, how it was a political thing.
Yes. Now the Romans had that dream of ruling all this world. So they had to bring those churches everywhere. That's why when in Uganda, buli kasozi kogendako kubaka ekigo, bwe kubaka ekigo, obusozisozi obutonawo obuli okumpi ne kubeerako amachachi either ngali zibeerawo bbiribiri ey'aba Protestant ne y'aba Katoliki. Kakati n'ogamba n'olabira ddala engeri gye babunyizaamu ekintu kyabwe. So, and another thing, okumanya it is a political hand. It was also shown that there is a way how they did some espionage obukesi ku bantu. Naddala mu kaseera kano kwe mwagendanga ne father mu kasenge mb'ogenza okwenenya ebibibyo. Ng'olyoko omugamba nasso n'olowooza mubikomyawo. Let alone yagamba diso w'ekitundu nti kakati gundi ne gundi okimanyi yassa omuntu abeera wano asabira wano buli bwe mugendo langu omusajja yassa omuntu bamututte. So it is just a political hand. The Muslims were balabanga kigenda bwe kityo. They also had that political hand. After noting that it is religion that can call for blind obedience in the disguise of belief. So nabo ne bakikola bwe batyo. The Protestants abo nabo it is another hand. Now the born agains, though engeri gye batalina mukulu abakulira, it is a decentralized. It is something decentralized. In a way that nti Edwin osobola okukola church gitandike ng'ofuna akasente okuva mu government ng'otandika okuweereza, then ng'otuusa message yange nze yakuteeka mu position like that. It is decentralized. Era that decentralized religion yekyasinza obeera ey'obulabe nnyo yabulabe nnyo kubanga getting instructions direct from the dictator bakubana abakatuliki abazifuna ewa paapa. Kati olowooza okiraba Anita Amongo yabadde alina sooka kudduka wa paapa atuuse obubaka bwe basobola obuyisa mu system paka eno wansi ku bigo. You understand? However much sinamanya kiddala ddala ekituufu kyabadde asaba paapa amukolere. So kakati n'otunuulira religion butwa bwennyini nyini. Once somebody calls for blind obedience, you are not going to ask why. You are not going to ask what is the truth and what is wrong. You are going just to obey. Then you build loyalty. Then you are dragged like how they call us that these are sheep, and they call themselves shepherds. Endiga zigoberera bugoberezi. Endiga kaseera byentenge genda ngegoberera yonna entejera gange goberera. That's why they call us endiga. But for me, I said no. Sijja kukkiriza kubeera endiga, and I cannot be endiga. I go to church on fast to ask for what I want in that year. Then I go back on Christmas to tell God that I got this and this, thank you. But I did not get this and this. So what are you waiting for? That's me. So that's my submission. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Edwin. It's a very great submission. Guys, share the space. And then those that are on the panel, please get the microphone. Sarah, please have the mic. Let us hear from you also.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, please. We can hear you.
Right. I think most of it I'll submit in Luganda kuba bayinza waliwo abajja okunyiiga. But first of all, with the previous speaker, Edwin, ayina kyayogeddeko ekyo obusozi bw'omu Kampala. I recently saw this program I think it was YouTube, and someone was saying to obusozi obwo bwonna bwali busozi bwa nnono. Buli kasozi akaliko church kaali kasozi ka nnono, and they represented something in particular. Mr. colonizer bwe yayita mu ddiini n'asalawo okukola okusuppressinga ebyo ebintu ebyakolebwanga ku busozi obwo kuba bwalinga powerful in their own rights. Nyawa example nti Namirembe, for example, akasozi kaali kakuleeta mirembe era abantu bakuŋŋaaniranga okukola okusaba kutwita Katonda bamitanga ani omutonzi. There's a way some of these words were twisted naye nga they mean pretty much the same. The process is the same. Tonda. Okay, kakati, during that time when I left your program, if any of you can even go on Google, mukebere Westminster Abbey yali shrine. Yadi sabo. Nibajja nga badizimba ne basalawo ku adoptinga Christianity. Nebadifuula whatever.
That's why you decided to do this in Uganda.
Waliwo abajja okunyiiga bayinza okubijjako kuno ne babitwala somewhere byali sabo. Kakati eyo ng'ovuddeyo ifibadde na initial gundi yange naye the more you look into these things bw'oyongera okukola okusumulula amaaso. So bw'oyongerayo mu abaju nina abakwano bange abawera abakola ki abali mu gundi eyo abaveeyo naye nyinza okugamba nti olaba nga waliwo ayogedde nti no tetugenda waliwo omusiraamu abaddeko naga abasiraamu bagenda ku kaaba naye tebakkirizibwa genda ku ntaana z'abantu baabwe.
Saye Santos.
Obulamu bwabwe bwonna ngiyite social life nti 90% of it social life yabwe babeera ku bagenda gye baziika abantu baabwe ng'ogyeko abantu baabwe nti nno nti gundi immediate relative wange naye bamanyi balina bye bayita rabbi gye bamuziika buli luna omwaka we gutuuka nti no anniversary ye it's a huge thing era bagenda ne basabirayo era balina ne emmombe egamba bwe batuuka okusaba ku lunaku lwabwe olw'okusaba balina okujjukira gundi yafa bakozesa eyo connection kuba babelievinga nti omuntu eyafa body arrestinga naye spirit ye neesigalawo era eriwo kutosupportinga ekyo kyo bakikkiririzaamu era they carry it throughout mu services zaabwe.
Okimanyi kati what is the difference with that nebya African culture abakkiriza mizimu okitegeera
kyenkulaga naye nga bakuga tebamala omujju yennyini a practicinga ng'ojjako bano abaliyo ba reformed na biki naye bali aba practicingira ddala obulungi bagamba balina okukola once a year alina okuddayo kowa Israel naye kimutwalayo si kulambula bizimbe bw'otunuulira ebifaananyi byayo byonna sobola bisharinga wano ne bava ku ntaana yona ne bagenda ku yona bazita tombs bazizimbirako n'akayumba bwe basooka ddala eri ku board ewa Rachel ewava ewa Rachel awo ne bwogenda online n'ogenda mu YouTube n'oteekako Rachel's tomb ojja balabawo nga basaba ewava ewa Rachel mama wafe atulabira ebiki ne bagendako ewa Abraham wali bazika Abraham wali Isaac wali Jacob wali bani ani omulala aliwo kwa Rachel
bano bebava nabo Joseph right Joseph
tebamuziika awo naye we baziika Abraham we baziika Sarah we wali Isaac we wali Jacob waliwo bataano bonna era ebisobola ogenda ku YouTube osobola n'okunoonya either live coverage oba video yonna era ojja kulaba nti kaakati aba babeerawo bakola tours n'ogamba nga bw'ogamba nti lero nzizeekoko ngendako waffe oba ngendako ki balina ngeteeka okugendako wa
ngenze kulima bijja
we bava awo egundi erimu kati waliwo kasiti akalala bakayita Sfat Sfat akoko akaalo konna mwe baziika abanene b'eddiini akoko n'okugendayo obugenzi bw'obalaba nga bagamba nti gundi agenda nga bw'ogamba nti tugambe nti Uganda tunoonyeyo kyalo ki tugambe nti mumpe erinnya ly'ekyalo kyonna kaŋŋambe nti
waffe Kakiri
kale nti Kakiri ffenna ne tuba nga tumanyi nti abantu ab'amaanyi n'omunnaddiini yennyini gwe bataziiseeyo abeera nga bamuyisizaamu amaaso ne tumanya nti Kakiri gye tuziika abannaddiini baffe kaakati bw'olugira bwe kiragamba banayenze ngendako Kakiri muyina essaala ze mumpa nga tukuwa essaala zaffe ng'ozitwala ng'ogenda oziteekayo Kakiri that is a norm tekiriko nti oba nakwekerekoyero oba kiki it is a given nti kaakati ennaku enkulu zaabwe ziba zinatera okutuuka which are very nearby ennaku enkulu nga babeera nga abali ku marathon kuba okutandika guno omwezi baguyita mu mwezi gwa repentance naye repentance yaabwe eri slightly different ku y'abakatoliki repentance yaabwe eri bagita correction nti obeera ocorrectinga temuli mu bya guilt nti nakoze bwenti ate babuulira muntu yenna yagamba obeera gets open okola kyo correctinga byewasobya n'okwekuba mu kifuba like to reflect on yourself n'okola kyo naye kaakati between now for the next 1 month ebeera nga marathon ne bagenda kati bano baterako okuba abafiira ku mawanga ne babaziika eyo waliwo trip wali abagenda egundi Poland bateekeyo prayer waliwo abagenda egindi babeera balambula buli wamu before the holidays before those special holidays yani badde nga Christmas yaabwe nti bagenda okutuuka kati mu kwegayirira kuno mu kwegayirira repentance yaabwe bayitamu n'agamba nti gundi yali w'amaanyi katugambe St. Bali ku ddembe yali w'amaanyi kati mu kwegayirira n'agamba St. Bali ku ddembe nyambaako negayirire ki like through your like to try intercede for me okola prayers yange okutuukirira kuba abeera akimanyi nti nno oli omuntu ali higher than you of course abeera ali more anointed so they can do their prayers through so and so it is a total marathon naye gwe bw'okeera n'ogenda ku wali n'olima ku tolina nakyo okyokola just okeera timwamulabye yakubisa ebifaananyi ng'ali kubijja naye nga be ebifaananyi byabwe ebya holidays 90% babeera kubijja ne bagendako nti waliwo abafiire e Morocco ne bagendayoko ebeera trip eyandi badde nti no trip tugenze ku holiday yaabwe eri integrated with that is their way of life kaakati when you look at all these things ogamba nti even then otunuulira other countries nga China India abatatwala ddiini y'abano era bala abakola bintu byabwe biri different kuba abafuutulayo India we all know the story babafuutulayo ne bagaana ne basigala ku kintu kyabwe bo nga tebakriticizing nti noki nti ebyayi bakola bya kirogo
abayindi balina bukatonda nga miliyoni namba okitegeera
bakyesonyiwa ne bagamba abayindi, their culture is so interesting, even the way they talk about it. Ekyabwe ekyo kiri interesting. Naye yaffe yeri evil. Ekyabwe kiri interesting.
Ekyabayindi kiri interesting, ekyabwe kiri evil. African religions are evil.
Kakati kabeera abachina balina ne bamuyitani
Buddha balina Buddha
si muyindi.
Buddhism eri dominant also mu China.
Kakati naye tubalabe bagenda ne balambulayo ne bekubisa n'ekifaananyi ku kibumbe kya Buddha. Bo bennyini bano. Oh, we went to China, went to the temple. It was so beautiful. It was really, really. Naye ke erozimba essabo. Onowulira n'agamba it was beautiful. Ajagamba, oh, evil Africans. Naye nga essabo lyerimu ne temple y'omu China gyagenzeemu n'eri abayindi balina mountains bagenda. Bano bennyini ba Mark Zuckerberg baani, what's the guy's name? Steve Jobs baani. If you read their biographies, they had to go there. They went to India. They went to the mountains for 40 days, for how long, for whatever, to be able to create the things they were able to create. That is, I mean, the separation is so huge. If you look into their lives, and they're tapping into a different force or a different way of tapping into that force, then cram everything. Most of our people cramming is no cramming verses the Bible even in practice. That's what to take practice. I have nothing against the Bible. The Bible is a beautiful book if you can put it in practice. Tebagana tebakiyita ddiini, tebakozesa ekigambo religion. Era bagamba religion obeera it's limiting. Bagamba ekigambo religion kiri it's limiting.
Restrictive.
It's pretty restrictive. Thank you. That's the word. Pretty restrictive. If you listen to them, there's so many rabbis even put it like when they teach from a different place. So YouTube. I have like 3 favorites. They are beautiful teachings. There's none of that, but they read, they study actually differently. Bible translating us so differently. Of course, the 5 books of Moses, the Old Testament. So their belief is to not cram things, but to live that way. What do I get the kucha? I think about the Florence. They preach that sort of lifestyle teaching. It's the love of God, love thy neighbor. That is where their teaching start from. As long as your people in your house are happy, then you carry on to go out and everything. Forget everything. Mugende mugondi mu inconvenience ng'abantu mulekaane mukube kerere. That's when Katonda tiyitaga kulekaanira. Katonda osobola omusaba mukasirise. Era nabo birabulanga basaba mukasirise because it's a sacred moment between you and your God. After these teachings, basaba mukasirise because you're having a conversation. Once you understand engeri gy'ogenda okukola naye bannaye, we need to wake up to know okugula obwongo bwaffe, emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. But it's a very interesting topic.
Thank you so much, Sarah, actually giving us a little bit of more expansion of religions, other religions. I want to like most people have not studied much about religions. Kati just babisanga busanze mu kanisa oli ne bamutaninga nafuka of certain religion osanga olinga yakasiramu kanga ayagala obusiramu okusinga ne Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam osanga omuntu nga yakafuka omulokole nga ayagala obulokole. So there is a way how these are, but you need to study about first of all the history of religions. Every religion, whether Islam or what, so you need to study. Or you know, kumanya ebintu ebyo, you know, kumanya even deeper theology.
Can I add something?
Yes.
When you observe olaba nti ewaffe obanga Uganda over Africa to cause a religion as an escapism. To cause it's very, very it worked up and it was intended. It worked up okubeera passive. You know? And the minute you say that, there's a way they even feel great about it. Like omulabanti ali helpless. Whereas tukimanyi fenna nti Katonda waliwo asharinza ogondi. Yatuwa buli kimu kye twetaaga within us. We just have to connect to that and be able to, you know, naye oli akugamba Museveni wali yagala wali munnaye Katonda yasalawo. Buli kimu. So it's not a mistake that we think like that. Twali trained. We have been trained generation and generations. Okuba nti tubeera twali submissive ate tuli passive. tetwagala kuba ku kitu bana era nga buddayo n'otumira abayindi of course mu Kampala mwebali obalaba ennaku zaabwe ezisimanya zibakola kino bagenda ku temple like the work they do prior to that they don't just sit back n'akwata ekitabo n'azibiriza it is practical. Spiritual work is practical. Kababeere bana abaju spiritual work is practical. Kababeere aba China spiritual work bakimanyi nti you have to put in a lot of things, you have to do this that and the other okusobola okola ki closing that gap. Naye ffe kasita cramming verses nogamba cramming zino if you look at I'm sorry wakuleka abakikola I'm sorry abaliko wana
no again mazo what kubera story just speak what wali kubera story you speak
oli kasita akwata n'akwata verses engazizo they use the same verses over and over and over and over again. It's cram work, it's pure cram work. Ntajja gikozesa amale agwakufuula nti olaba nkusirisiza ntaddewo kino mugundi John biki bagamba bwe bati mu Deuteronomy bwati bagamba bwe bati ye kasaga bagamba bwe bati. Most of the time I want to ask them bagamba bwe bati gwokozeewo ki. You know, gwokozeewo ki. I once sat in a group of now and there's a friend invited me to a house party kati ntuukawo nesanga what I find really funny is abalokole munansonyiwa abalokole basinze n'otwawula because tosobola kungamba ti ono batagenda abalokole basosoze nnyo ono batagenda mu church yange I don't even need to associate with them but in the same book mu kitabo kyenni kye basoma ate balaga Katonda yatutonda ffenna na buli kimu ekiri ku gundi they are so contradictive. Naye going back to I went to this party house party so abantu benasangayo abasinga I knew this friend before she became born again so we used to like go to workshops together we used to go to same masterminds na bishi and suddenly she changed nanga bwogambye oli nabanga yakalokoka ate nakulaga nti ate ye wakitalo nnyo she changed in a period of 2 years. Those 2 years is a COVID so after COVID I'm lifting she moved to this place not inviting a house party na bishi and I found this new group here that forming who go to the same church that she goes to. It's just mentioning one but it's a huge international church. So they start questioning my faith, right? I'm not someone who will sit there and talk about my faith because I believe it is a sacred thing. It is my thing. It is how I communicate with God. But because they were questioning it, I don't like it. I've never liked it from childhood. I'm going to play dumb. They're the most judgmental people. So judgmental. They started questioning, if you don't do this, it is a party for crying out loud. So now I just asked them one question. And during that time, drinks. So there was this group of people. Let me ask you one thing. Supposing I don't know none of those things. I don't know no reading. I don't maybe hold the Bible. I'm not saying I don't, but I'm saying supposing I don't. Because it's about even that benefit to know what I practice and how I practice. But guys, supposing I don't, but I wake up maybe every day and I care for people. I make sure that people are well looked after. I love my neighbor. I look after them like I would take care of myself. It's still not enough. It's still not enough. And as long as you don't do this one thing, as long as the one teaching, if you do not follow anything, the one teaching, yeah, Jesus Christ, one teaching, all religions is love thy neighbor. It's translated differently, but it's the one message. Omutonzi waffe gy'akola. Bagamba singa osanga wali omuntu ku street. A street man abasajja batula ku street ayinza okuba nga tena kyamaine ekimu naye niwabanga bamuwaddeyo ka sandwich akasharinga ne munne amanya nti munne talina they will share that is what Jesus would have done. But as long as he's not doing this, as long as he doesn't go to our church, in fact bali very specific wabanga tagenda mu church yaabwe agenda mu muliro naviranze ku bantu. So religion etu limiting nnyo etu restricting era yetusinga n'otuze emabega especially in African setting. Let's submit for now.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much for that good submission. Very, very great. I think we open this conversation looking at how the region has been used to suppress voices, especially voices that seek for change. In any change, regions has been conservative. They have been conservative. So in things they want, they are conservative. They want change. When you bring anything, they bagaba. For example, someone said that Museveni was sent. Museveni was God sent. So if you oppose Museveni, you're opposing God. So you have to wait for him to die. So if you protest against corruption, you're protesting against Museveni. That means you're protesting against God. A lot of usually things those people speak there, and they go deep into the minds of the young people that are attending churches and attending those mosques, those duas, and all that. So we are looking at how the region has been used to silence voices, especially voices of change. Okay. Before we had these people, Moncada and Lukwago. First, I will start with Lukwago and then go to Moncada, then Good Girl. Thank you. Moncada.
Okay. Am I
sorry? Yes. Okay. Sorry.
Mumpulira.
Yes. Genda maaso.
Okay. Eno topic nnungi nnyo kuba etuyambako okuzuukuka. Waliwo zino ze bayita Abrahamic religions. Okay? Those group of monotheistic religions that trace their roots back to the so-called prophet Abraham. Those three main Abrahamic religions are Judaism, Christianity, Islam. These religions share common roots and values, such as belief in one God, prophetic traditions, the 10 Commandments, importance of scripture, Torah, Bible, Quran, belief in an afterlife. Okay? Despite their differences, these religions have contributed significantly to shaping Western civilization, ethics, and spirituality within Africans, with the deliberate effort of using them as a weapon of massive destruction. Angambe bwintu. Mass destruction, weapon of mass destruction byebiki. Ekyokulwanisa namuzisa to Africans. Okay? We add our own African traditions. Okay? We add our own African culture norms, values. We add our own African religion. But when those religions were introduced, with the major aim of using them as a weapon of mass destruction, African norms, religion, and values were considered satanic. Imagine, demonic. They happen to find you practicing your culture norms, African religion, they will call you satanic. Bagera kugamba oli mbintu bya star. Omuzungu najja aze kubata kali afe na kuwa Bible. Boli ku Bible etaka ali kulitwala. Gende Nigeria. Nigeria yeri bapasita bano batibi Joshua bakakande type wano mu Uganda. Akugamba togenda mu ddwaliro. Katonda akola ebyamagero agenda kujjanjaba. Jangu tusabe. The government enambe Nigeria ekwata sente neziteeka mbasiramu bagende bakole ijja. Nene tateeka sente mu kujjanjabisa abantu. Ne tujja wane Uganda okuleeta wezo eddiini. Kwali kuyiwa musayi. Entalo z'abasiramu. Yomu omukatuliki. Omukatuliki waliwo omukatuliki omuprotestant. Omuprotestant yadduka mu katuliki. Bazze wano. Abafuzi b'amatwale imperialists. They used them as their agents here on the African continent to soften the hearts of Africans to succumb to their imperialistic demands. Okay? Omukatuliki nga yekwesemba missionary najja nazimba essomero. They came with incentives. Okay? Incentives. Bazimba amasomero. Christian schools, we know them here. Missionary schools. Yumeya schools, abasiramu nabo ne bazimba. Kati emitima gyaffe ne gikkakkana. Ne tuva ku byaffe. Ne batufuga ne batutwala nga abafuzi b'amatwale nga we baayagala. Ne babba buli kyaffe ne bazimba Uganda Railway. Ne bazimba buli kimu. Ne tukikkiriza. Eddiini ne bagikozesa okutwawulamu. Ne batupatiikako political parties. UPC yaba Protestants. DP dini ya Papa. Bano Jema basiramu. Wetujira kati ku mpuuga. Mpuuga atufukidde ekizibu. Bagamba Bobi Wine okuba mukatuliki muno. Even whoever is close to Bobi Wine tufune na amawulire nti batugamba Bobi Wine okufuula mpuuga leader of opposition. Bobi Wine was pressured by Uganda and the Catholic Church. Okwata otyo oguntu ogubbi gwomanyi ogwo gusajja gwatubonyabonya mu woko tuwaka. Museveni nakwata milioni 700. N'agugamba gufo wagoyinge woko tuwaka mayiga ye yamutwala ne basisinkana ekisozi ne tubigamba ng'otusaba evidence kyamukisa mulungi Katonda yakuyamba nawe n'ogugwamu we gwali era gufunye ebitaano era gukole ekimu kye gwakola mu woko tuwaka we back in 2011 n'ogugwamu naye before fe twali twagala Kristo kiwe nambeshe we twasuggestinga ne batugamba nti no Catholic Church ne Buganda ba pressurize Bobi Wine afuule mpuga leader of opposition kyamukisa mulungi we were exonerated era Museveni we yakwata milioni 5 aziguwe era gukole ekimu kye gwakola ku woko tuwaka under the influence of what religion. Okay? Wetujja wane waka. Olaba abasiramu abadividinze. Olaba mubajje kibuli. Abakatuliki abadividinze. Ono Cyprian we yavaayo kayogereko oyo teyazuukuka. Teyazuukuka. Waliwo nalebo nambozo omusajja gwe yayogedde ku BBS. Kibuuka oba kibuuka nga nadduli gwe bakozesa dividinga abakatuliki.
Kibuuka yekutulako ku bukatuliki ali awo namugongo. Yakola ekidini nayo.
Eyo yonna gemu ya Museveni. Divide and rule. Abakatuliki. Genda mubasiramu nababa dividing. Kati akozesezza abalokole obulokole bwaleetebwawo ba America to fight the influence of Catholic religion. Buleetebwa abalokole mbune Museveni alina muwala we pastor. Janet Museveni na abakole buno bonna bupasita bwe muna bakungudo buno obubulira enjiri obo bonna bumbega buli mu bulokole. Kano kabujingo nze lero kankabaatulire kabujingo kambega kagundi ka agent ka M23 era sente zekakuŋŋaanyaawo ze facilitating M23 byekola ekongo. Aya way of that naye yekwese mu ddiini. n'abazungu bwe bagikozesa okutufotonga ne Museveni omusiraamu omanyi nti omusiraamu akkirizibwa okulwanisa ene oppressive leader naye bali luddawo owulira mu bajje bali mu byobusiraamu kwekkiriziganya na Museveni teri munnaddiini agenda kuvaayo kayogere nti kino kikyamu kino wabula mbwe abakulembeze mpulidde mu byogerako nti Katonda yalonda omukulembeze Katonda alonda abakulembeze batemu nsangu ntukuti about okugamba kifaazi ekimu nti Museveni abantu be yatteeruwe how will he be held accountable nti katumusabire bitendekebwa mubigenda bisome theology ne babitendeka kudongowaza abantu perhaps we talk about the influence of this religion in politics gwe kwata sente ziwe bino binaddiini ebikumbaavu ogenda obigambe bigende mu kyaki bidongowaza abantu nti woba tolina mulimu jangu mu kyaki osabe okay Katonda agenda ku saba nyonnyo waliyo ezi night prayer amakadda sasisi olwa night prayer wano mu Africa twebuuza lwaki kyaki nnyingi nnyo naye ate fakitole ntono nga n'abazungu abaleeta amadiini gano tebasabanga ffe we tusaba waliwo wano bapasita ng'okugenda okumulaba okusabira osasula akakadde Bobi Wine yabyogerako mu luyimba lwe yayimba ne Bugembe okumulaba okusabira wano twalinawo kembeera nga bapasita bafuuse bapasita nga balina obuuma akakuteekamu akola akakuteekako n'okankana ng'olwafuna abagobereza abangi baatandika na biwempe kati bavuga zi ama talk about whole rice Kakande kyakola wana abantu Kakande agenda n'alimu omuceere gwe yiika nga 10 najja n'aziguza endigazi mitwalo 5 alina bizinesi zaki zenigati hole bread okugugula mitwalo 5 wone bugundi wenajjanga mu town back in 2017 awo ngampita ku 2 ng'abantu basimba line okuva ekyebando paka ku chachi ya Kakande bagenda kufuna hole water yali asimye oluzi sebo mu chachi nga bagenda kufuna hole water
olowooza biweddewo in March yakola nalaba emmotoka eziva like all across African countries zigenda w'omusajja oyo mufuna hole water tebinagwa naawe
imagine kati yeye mbeera gye tubaddemu they have legalized religious fraudulent activities that's the problem we are facing. The African son and daughter has been manipulated, has been hoodwinked to think that in order for you to get solace, you have to go to the men of God. That should stop. Wetugezaako gamba abantu nti mudde ku byammwe ensi zonna ze tulaba ezikulaakulanye gende India tojaleetayo bya kisiru mwogedde abayindi bali wano mu Kampala omusanga akuma akabaani asamira basamira abayindi
basole nakatendinga kundi ez'abayindi nga nnya nga basamira mbeerayo nange ne bakuba ebintu byabwe nolaba nga basamira ddala basamira ali natugamba bute tusamira Abafrika tezinasamira how nga abayindi
nolabira ddala ebintu ebyekisiru nze nyina abazungu be nali nabo twali eyo Jinja ne tugenda mu ssabo omulubaale omusajja oyo emanda gwe zikwata najja n'ayogera ebintu nga mbavunulira mu luzungu ne bagamba look at this rich culture they have the capacity to intercede with the dead to talk okay ne beewuunya bali ku research naye kati twebuuza lwaki ebyobuwangwa byaffe bisaanyizibwawo so abazungu bo bakikola deliberately kutudividinga bakozesa religion tribalism ethnicity ebyo imperialism n'okutuimposingako their own culture erosion so wetubanga tusobodde okuzuukuka n'oleeta omulamwa bwe guti from the Pan-African point of view mulungi kuba guba guzuukusa abantu okumanya China ekulaakulanye lwakuwa kitiibwa bya biwanga zaabyo na nnono baafuna engeri gye baziyiza cultural interference from those western cultures ne badira naye ffe tudongo wadaza n'osanga bujingo eyali omusamize wano ebwayise omubbi Jjungwe nga ye pasita waliwo nono eyakafa baali basamize nga bakola busamize wano ebwayise ono taata wa Jjengo mwerabidde erinnya pasita we yakafaawo abadde nanyini abizaayo nga basamize abawedde emirimu mu gyekyenda tagadi najja nagamba nze nakoma omulaba nga musamize kati yava mbusamize nadda mu
aba yabuvaamu ate naawe aba yabuvaamu ate buno bubeera just abakyusiza address bukyusa ebimu
ng'akyusizza enkuba yakyusa enkuba ng'awa abantu empeta so ebintu bino ebyokuexploitinga abantu bikome nga mukozesa eddiini ate olowooze nti ogenda kozesa bano abanaddiini abatumbaavu okutuinfluence nga tuzuukusa we are at loggerheads with them these days sibawa pule musamugamba gwani gwofuulinga naze ffe tulabye abakazi nsiba mbagamba abaana mubaleke nti omunna tunatabukako naye nafusinga omwana wange genda mu kyaki gamugamba gwe omwana we batayagala muleke tomukaka wabula mulese lwakuba nti mwana muto bamunyambeko to soften her heart naye wawereza emyaka 18 njagala oleko omwana wange yetegerere nanze kitaawe we nakula ne netegerera bintu bya dini ebyaffe ebyobuwanga babyonoonye biri mu Banyarwanda mama fina biri kubikolera mu kuvegera mu bantu balese obuvubuka obuto buli kubba abantu sente mu byowaffe eby'Ekiganda kagenda ne kabba omuntu obukadde butaano omuntu n'avaayo ng'agamba eyo waliyo babbi kiki nnyo kye mwagala Museveni gw'olowooza bano Abangereza n'Abamerika okutusibako olw'obutakkanya bwe baafuna ne Kingdom ya Buganda olowooza ogenda tufiirako walayo ennaku zino abasawo Abaganda kati Banyarwanda mutandikire ku maama fina